How are you feeling now?
I'm just stupidly excited.
Are you proud of him?
Oh, immensely proud. Just need that hug.
Well done, mate. So Henry Cruz returned to the bike shed after 381 days.
Yeah.
55,000 miles on the road.
Ish. Yeah, I still got captured.
On your grand world tour. So we've got a few questions, so we're going to ask him them and create a YouTube video for you. So last time we were on a sofa together, you were a bit wet behind the ears and didn't really know what you were letting yourself in for.
Still don't.
And literally hours ago, you've just ridden through the bike shed gates on the return of your world tour.
The last mile of 50 odd thousand miles, yeah.
And it was so for those people who don't know what all this fanfare is, tell the viewers what you've just got off the bike and accomplished.
So, yeah, I left here April 3rd and I've just returned April 19th.
Yeah, we might as well say that was 2018 and now it's 2019.
Yeah, a year.
So a year.
3 weeks.
Not 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That would have been a record attempt.
Yeah. So I left here April 3rd, 2018 and just got back April 19th, 2019 and broke the world record for youngest person to ride a motorcycle around the world.
So, first question, did you have fun?
Yeah, it was amazing. It's crazy, like, just it being continuous and not having any comparison with normal life is a bit weird, but it's all a bit of a blur, but it's crazy.
So right now, I know everyone's asking this, how do you feel? What's your emotion? Is it relieved? Do you want to be back on the road? Are you tired? Or a bit of everything?
I don't think it's really sunk in.
No.
Having only been off the bike for 3 hours and it just feels like another day. It feels like I'm going to jump on the bike tomorrow and carry on.
Well, we're catching up earlier on and you said, that's what you're going to have a bit of adjustment because that's all you've been doing for the past over a year.
It's weird because it's a complex thing to do and a difficult thing to do, but in terms of lifestyle it's so simple because you have one goal for the year. You just keep driving until you get back home. So yeah, I feel a little bit directionless. It's also nice to be back.
Yeah. So without listing all the countries and routes and things, what was the rough route that you did?
Through Europe, a little bit of Russia, down through Kazakhstan, back up through Kazakhstan and across to Azerbaijan, Iran, Pakistan, India, down through Southeast Asia, out of Malaysia to Perth in Western Australia, across the south coast of Australia and up to, flew across to Chile, Santiago, and then rode up from Santiago to Colombia along the west coast, got a boat to Panama, every country in Central America, through Mexico, bumbled around North America for a couple of months, and then from New York to Lisbon and Lisbon back to London.
We touched on it earlier, the record attempt. So who was it previously held by?
Kane, Mr. Kane Avellano.
Kane Avellano at Bonitour, for those who haven't seen him. He did that back in 2017?
I think he finished in 2017.
And so his stats, what did you need to beat?
It's just the age.
To be a world record.
So for it to be the world record, you need to do more than 24,500 miles, of which 18.5 of that has to be ridden. You have to hit antipodal points, which are opposite each other on the globe, and you have to start and finish in the same place. They're the main rules. And then it's all just based on the age when you get back. So his record is 24, mine's 23 and a bit.
So the next person who's going to try and take you on has got to be...
Yeah, they have to be younger.
Be back 23 and a bit years old. We'll see, maybe next year we'll be another contender.
Yeah, well there's no record been set for youngest woman to ride around the world on a motorcycle, because the actual technical record is youngest male to circumnavigate the world. No record's been set for youngest woman, so I'd love to try and work with some of the brands and stuff.
And no one's currently doing it?
No one's doing it.
Being on the scene, you haven't...
Yeah, if I can help in any way to...
That's a challenge. I know a few people who would happily do that.
No, you could do it at 50 and you'd be the youngest person.
Yeah. You'd want to start earlier though, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So, regarding the trip, when we were talking last year, you kind of didn't know what to expect. And I was looking forward to seeing, you know, what you encountered and all of that stuff. Was it what you expected? Or was it, you know, was it harder than you expected, easier than you expected?
I think it.
We moved more than
overall,
you thought you would?
I think it was easier than I expected.
Easier.
But there were some days which were much harder than I
Yeah.
thought possible.
It would be, yeah.
And it was the most difficult thing was dealing with the frustration at certain points, waiting. I was
at border crossings?
Border crossings, waiting for visas, waiting for spare parts,
Waiting for
the bike to arrive in Lisbon.
The last week you
I was in
Portugal
Lisbon for 2.5 weeks. Yeah, waiting for the bike to
I
show
kept
up.
seeing your updates and worrying if you were going to actually make it back.
And I
in
had
time.
like a set date to be back here.
Yeah.
So the other times it didn't really matter so much because I could just make up time at other points,
yeah.
but I'd already told everyone to be here.
Yeah,
So it'd be a
that's
bit
tough.
awkward if I wasn't.
Cool. So were you ahead of schedule from what you planned, or were you behind?
I took about
Because it
another month.
took another month on what you expected.
Just
I think
because
you
I
set off
wanted
a month
to.
after than you thought you would.
Yeah, 2 months later
2
than I
months,
thought
yeah.
I would, because I didn't have a bike. And then I knew that I had 13 and a half months to complete it, and I wanted to take about 10. After a couple of delays and then just realizing that was going to impact places that I wanted to actually spend time, which is 12 months in the end.
Yeah. So with the trip, this is going to be the question that everyone asks you, but of all of it, what was the highest point for you? And we're going to get on to lows. Like, I saw one Instagram story that had me cracking up and I watched it on repeat.
The one
and it
where
was
I was sick.
No, that one was good. The other one was that I was thinking of was when you were trying to get up a hill and it was just montage after montage
Of the bike.
angled.
I was sick from
Was that when
picking
you
it
were
up
sick?
too much.
I was sat out there actually, and I was messaging you on that day, and I had to message you because I was laughing so much, and the frustration and desperation, but also it was really endearing.
Yeah.
Seeing you just sort of struggling up that hill.
That's the thing I like about the Instagram stories is that you can give a real time, real life updates. I try and be as honest as I can in captions on photos and capture things that don't always look perfect. But with the
really
stories,
honest,
it's
and it
great.
was just like a little snapshot into what you were up to that day, and I genuinely look forward to just keeping up and seeing where you'd progressed to. And you were really good at commentating, you know, what was going on, and just describing your day. And a lot of them were just your face, and you were covered in mud and shit and flies and everything. It was just an update for everyone. It was just really nice to see that.
Yeah.
So I agree. The Instagram stories were the bits that I watched. You need to download all of them and make a.
I've got them on the highlights, so yeah, I can just click them off. But highlights, riding in the Himalayas was amazing. That's probably my favourite little segment of the whole trip. Australia in general was amazing, and riding on the beach in Esperance was.
Is that when you were going flat out? That looked amazing.
Oh, it's great. And I don't know why, riding on a beach has been something that I've wanted to do forever. I think I mentioned it before when we talked.
You got some great pictures from that.
Yeah, it was really good. And just like, I'd never seen the sea that colour or sand that colour. Or Australia is like when you're a kid and you pick up a rock and just look at all of the bugs and stuff, except you're under the rock this time. It was amazing.
So did you tick off a lot of things that you wanted to do, different terrains?
Yeah, and some were a lot worse than I thought they'd be. Some things that I was really looking forward to, just really underwhelming, or like didn't pan out right. I rocked up to Monument Valley, and then there's like a trail that goes through them. All the cars are allowed to drive on it. They don't let motorbikes on it. So I got to the gate, and they were like, "You can't come in." And I was like, "Well, I've just ridden 3/4 of the way around the world to do this," and they were like, "Nope, you have to pay for a tour and jump in a Jeep, and it's $100. And I was like, "I'm not doing that." So
I had a pretty bad low when you were doing the Q&A earlier, and I had no idea of this, and because I think because I'd been following you all the way through, I didn't notice the amount of weight you'd lost. And I heard you say you lost 26 kilos, and just tell the viewers what that was like, because it kind of made me laugh that you couldn't find food, and I was imagining you just like foraging, but genuinely things you take for granted over here, being able to get food, like you were saying, from petrol stations and shops and things like that. You were saying this was all in India, and there's a lot of fresh food over there, and you can't really put a muesli bar in your bag.
Or
So
even
how
if
did
you had
all
a
this
curry,
happen?
like you can't. There's no Tupperware, so,
Yeah.
or there's no place to put that in your bike where it's not going to come undone and leak everywhere. It's just really difficult, and a lot of the time, the really bad days, the really long days, there's nothing in between point A and point B. It's only 130 miles, but it's going to take you 16 hours.
Everything's spread out, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't actually need to top up the bike with petrol because you're not actually going that far. Or like with the spare cans that are on there, you can make it, but you need to be able to put fuel in yourself. And a lot of the time, if I was riding and then camping, then I'd have no food. I think the longest I went without food was about 3 days. And then my stomach shrunk, and I was down to about one meal a day for probably a good third of the trip, and you just lose all the weight. The meal that you're having is not nutritious. It's not hitting the ticking the boxes of what you need to be eating. And I lost 26 kilograms by the time I got to Malaysia. It was almost a third of my body weight when I started. So it was intense, and you do feel it. You just feel like shit. And
operating the bike,
picking up the bike, operating the bike. Especially when you're riding
mentally,
bad.
to do that amount of hours on the road that you were doing.
I find that it affects you so much, and not day to day at home. If you skip a meal or you don't eat for a day, you'll get home and you'll be like, oh, I'm a bit kind of silly buggers because I haven't eaten all day. But when you're in the middle of nowhere, you haven't eaten in a couple of days, you're making mistakes that have far bigger consequences. And it's the same with sleep. I had one little section in Kazakhstan where I didn't sleep for 4 days, and I'd only eaten plain chicken and rice, which I fucking never want to eat that again. But that's when I lost my glasses because I was just half asleep. And you're half asleep when you haven't eaten as well, so it's really dangerous. The tiny thing is
misplacing something can just, also set you off schedule and just compromise the whole thing.
Definitely. But then it's easier in different countries, like America, just stocked up on jerky. So there's like a company called Epic, and they make all different kinds of packaged meat products. And I just got tons of that. Met the people that run it in Austin, and they gave me like a little goodie bag. And that was, if I was ever doing a bigger bike trip again, I would
get onto this.
Jerky is great.
Yeah.
It's like super light. You don't need to refrigerate it. It lasts forever. And it's got all that protein and stuff.
Things like that. So you were saying earlier, the whole thing has been a learning curve. If you were going to do it again, or if someone was going to sort of follow in your footsteps and want to do a world tour, or I talk to Stu about this sort of stuff all the time because I'm on the edge of planning one. People always want to know, what have you learned that could help those people out to not make similar mistakes, or just...
What I've learned is not to take anyone's advice too seriously, and you can probably don't take my advice too seriously either, because every trip's different. And technology's constantly evolving. Your bike's going to be different, your luggage is going to be different, your route's going to be different, the weather and the climate's going to be different, the people that you're going to meet are going to be different. So my thing's completely by chance. So.
You were saying this before, we were talking about Charlie Borman, who did his trip 15 years before, and he said, get a Garmin, get a sat-nav, this and that and the other. A little known fact, or maybe well known, you navigated the world.
The whole world on Google Maps.
On an iPhone. I mean, iPhones weren't available, they were 2007 and their trip was 2004.
And the first iPhone, you wouldn't have been able to do, and your data bill would be ridiculous.
Yeah, it was all a bit crazy. So nowadays, you've got a thing in your pocket that can literally take you around the world.
And I've got a 6, so it's not like the latest one, but if you had the latest one, you've got GPS, you've got a phone that shoots DSLR quality pictures, and you can call and do whatever you want.
Apple missed a trick and not sponsoring you for that.
I did email them. I emailed TomTom as well, and they didn't reply, but now they emailed me the other day and they want me to do marketing stuff on it.
Well, hopefully Apple will upgrade your phone.
Yeah. What's it? Tim Cook. Come on, Tim. Hook us up.
So, quick one. We've got the bike behind. We're going to have a quick look at that in a second. have you thought about what's next, or is it just acclimatizing to not being on the road non-stop?
I've had a lot of time to think.
Yeah.
I don't ride with headphones, I ride with earplugs, so it's just me normally singing the hits, but occasionally I do a bit of thinking. I've got a few months dealing with stuff from the trip, events and
all the fallout.
Yeah, press. And then what I really want to do is work on a web series of like mini inappropriate adventures. Everyone told me I'm an idiot for taking this bike and for not having a GPS and all this and that. And one of the ideas is to ride 1970s two-stroke enduro bikes from London to Rotterdam.
No one come on.
Yeah, and then do a race, the Rotterdam dirt ride.
Yeah.
And film it, nice cinematography, not vlog style at all. Sort of like a Top Gear special, but without all of the bullshit that comes with Jeremy Clarkson. Younger people.
That sounds fun. Have you got a spare two-stroke?
Huh?
You got a spare two-stroke for me?
Yeah, I've got two. I want 5. I want like 5 people to be on it.
We can sort that out.
1970s two-strokes. We'll get on eBay but if you want to give me some money to make this web series happen, email me. Yeah, that's the difficult bit with motorbikes. Money,
getting
in the
funded.
industry. Yeah, like I've self-financed this whole trip.
Yeah. Well, we've got questions later on from people who've sent in questions. But quickly, just a bit about the bike. How was it?
Yeah, I love the bike.
It's a capable off-road bike.
Yeah.
But normally when people do the sort of around the world job, they get on a GS or an Africa
You can
Twin.
thank Charlie for that.
Yeah.
It was like, it's a difficult one. I mean, if you like that bike, if that bike makes you happy, then you should be doing it on that bike. Personally, they're too big, too heavy. I can't pick it up on my own.
Yeah.
They're ugly, and that's my main factors with it. Having a bigger fuel tank on this bike would be amazing.
Yeah. We'll get onto this. Shall we go have a look?
Yeah.
Right, I'll grab this camera off the tripod. So we'll try to get you in for a regulars ride or something.
Yeah.
But what's really cool about this is you've literally just got off the bike.
Yep.
It's got all your luggage on it. This is what has been your home for the past 381 days.
Yeah,
so
it's been everything.
Should we just talk about it? And well, let's do a little front to back. So starting at the front, I mean, it's a pretty stock bike.
Yeah, and all of the accessories, apart from the bark busters and the fuel can mountings, are from the Ducati catalogue. So yeah, the fly screen, the engine guards, it's got the off-road peg thing. It's all kind of out the box.
So all standard shocks. You didn't do any upgrades for?
No, it's not my bike, so putting money into it wasn't really making sense.
So this is owned by Ducati. They lent you it to do the trip.
Yeah.
Just climb
but
over it.
I'm really surprised by how versatile it is.
Yeah.
Hammering it off-road. I mean, you've seen some of the pictures, and I'll send you some of the video to put in as well, but it's not had an easy life. And it was a press bike before, so I think when it got given to me, maybe it thought it was finally being retired and the abuse was over, and then I took it around the world. And then it will just cruise on the highway. You can wang it around corners. It's great fun. I really love it.
I remember these. When you were leaving, we were applying these stickers.
Yeah, these ones and this on either side of the fender.
It definitely looks a little more worn than when you left, but it's held up pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched it because otherwise no one would believe
You're
I'd gone around the world.
Mud and dirt and bugs and so. Let's go on to this fuel thing, because the question that a lot of people have been saying
is the fuel can.
Is the fuel can.
It was a bodge job.
The capacity of that is a 13-litre tank?
13 and a half, I think, yeah.
13 and a half, so that's, I mean, these GSs...
It's 120 to 150 miles, depending on what you're riding.
So you needed something, because you...
Yeah, well, I kind of thought about that quite late on, and I'm not even sure, I didn't have them mounted when I came in to do the first video. there was no fuel cans on
No,
it.
there wasn't.
Because 2 days before I left, I thought, I'm probably going to need some extra fuel.
Yeah.
Bought these online and just bought some generic plates.
So what's the name of these? Roto
Packs.
Yeah.
And it's the 6.6 litre version. So the good thing about it is I don't have to, so I've got a whole full tank of extra fuel. And the good thing is I can just lift this up and take the can off. And it's mounted like that.
Pretty quick then. Well, hang on, I've just spotted this. Who's this guy?
I just got given that.
Little model of yourself. So all of this luggage, what did you know, like we keep referring to the GSs that everyone does. They come with top boxes, panniers and everything. What have you used for all the luggage to carry everything that you're taking around?
So most of it's Malé London. The pillion, the side bags and the duffel bag is Malé. I got a Velamachi backpack that I picked up in Australia because whenever I dropped my bike, I had the laptop in the side bag and it had smashed the screen. Or it did once, and that was enough for me to not put it in there anymore. And then an Endurostan tail bag. And then I got all my tent and everything in this bag. Winter clothes, electric clothing in this one, and some other bits and bobs, first aid kit, that kind of thing.
So these, when you first put these on, they were a bit sparkly and it was sort of
I've only washed them once.
boys do toys.
So
they weathered really good.
They look lovely, don't they?
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to giving them a rinse off and re-waxing them.
Yeah.
And I think they'll be back to looking brand new. They're the only thing that I've brought with me that hasn't broken, like one thing, not one thing on them has broken.
That's good.
Whereas like I've got little holes in the waterproof bags now.
Yeah.
I've smashed bits on the bike, I've broken cameras, I've lost my glasses, but these bags, they're expensive because it's well made and it lasts.
So back on the sofa, we put a post out yesterday on Instagram stories. I was hoping you'd ask a question. I thought that'd be a laugh. So, you know, we just said, anyone got a question for Henry Crew?
Yeah.
So is it all right if we run through a few of those at the moment?
All right.
So at Ademo_moto, we're starting off with the openers. What was your first bike ever and what got you into the bike world?
My first bike ever was a 1982 Yamaha XS400. Kind of chopped it up a bit. Never worked very well.
Still got it?
No. I sold my first car to buy that bike and I haven't had a car since. I've been riding every day.
And when did you start riding?
When I was 19, 4 years ago. I've spent a quarter of my riding life on this trip, which I've realised today, which is crazy.
That's good going.
What got me into bikes, I'd grown up cycling and I always wanted to ride motorbikes. No one in my family rides, so I never really had that opportunity. And then I was kind of playing with the idea at 16, didn't really want a moped because can't go that fast and I wanted to travel longer distances and wasn't very practical at that time. So as soon as I was 19, with all the licensing laws, I think it kind of delayed my start with motorbikes. But yeah, 19, got my A2, been on a bike ever since.
And we touched on it in the last interview a bit. It's the whole mental health side of it. You know, you've had your struggles with that sort of stuff, and it's sort of it's the therapy side of it.
Yeah, it's a massive form of therapy for me, and it's one of the main things I think why I don't think I could ever stop riding. Because it gives me so much, and like today to rock up and all these people here, and that's bikes that have done that, which is crazy. And
the fact that people have been pulling you all around the world.
Yeah.
No, good on you. You're the guy you've just stripped of the title, Bonnie-Tor, Kane Avellano. His question is, what was your biggest oh shit moment?
Ooh, I don't really know. Probably when I wasn't going to get let into Mexico. I rocked up to the border, gave him my documents, gave him the letter from Ducati, because it's still in Ducati's name. So I gave him the letter to say that it's all right for me to be riding it, it's legalized, like stamped and everything. And they were like, no, not coming in.
And you need to go through Mexico.
Yeah.
Is there another way around it? Actually,
No.
I don't know my geography. Yeah.
No.
So South America to north, and you're done.
Yeah. And I was like, well, no, I have to come in.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, you need a new letter. This one needs to say that you work for the company, otherwise we won't accept it.
Right.
And I was like, well, that's ridiculous because I don't work for them, so that's not possible. And they were like, well, here's an example of what it needs to say. They showed me the example, and it's exactly what I've just given them. It doesn't say that the person works for the company. So I say that's wrong, and they're like, oh yeah, so they put it in the bin. I'm like, you just thrown your example letter away because you don't want to let me into the country. Anyway, it's like 6 o'clock in Mexico, 1 or 2 a.m. in the UK, and I was like, take a couple minutes to think how I'm going to do this. And I was like, okay, I'll go and email Ducati, walked back into the waiting room, pretended to be emailing Ducati, and I was photoshopping the document. So I literally I had a scanned copy of it anyway, and I literally just added a line on the bottom that said Henry Cruz working for the press department.
On the original document that you just showed them?
Yeah, so I just walked back. I forgot to even take it out of Photoshop. So I showed them the computer with the document in Photoshop.
That's
and they were
amazing.
like, okay, cool, come through. And that was pretty sketchy.
So that, without doing all that forgery, you could have...
I'd still be at the border because
still be at the
it would
border
have
and you would
taken
have
me
done
weeks to
That's a
sort
wicked
that out.
story.
Yeah,
I love that.
But oh shit moments, I don't know. There's been a few times where like,
Any close calls, any crashes, or...
yeah, I hit a man in Iran, which is a nice rhyme. Yeah, I was coming over a crossroads, the light was green, car in front of me swerves out the way, and there's
Yeah.
a dude walking across the road on his phone.
shit.
And like, we did a bit of the dance, I went left, he went left, and...
The clipping of full impact.
No, full on. But only like 5 miles an hour
Yeah.
by the time I'd slammed on the brakes, but he was fine. He had a little bit of a bump, like he fell over, but he was all right. He broke my headlight mount, he broke my laptop screen, that was the first time that went. Knocked my handlebars out of alignment, and I was like, this crowd starts forming.
That's an oh
that
shit
was an
moment.
oh shit moment, yeah. Yeah, it was a fucking nightmare that day.
Okay, next one. This is from @TomTArcher. I think that's it, or Tom Tarcher.
Tom Archer, yeah, I know him.
Oh yeah?
Hi Tom.
Is it pal? What were the biggest personal challenges? Loneliness, trust issues, stress, that whole mental side of it.
Sorry, go again.
What were the bigger personal challenges? Were you lonely on the road, or
No,
was it
I
difficult
wasn't
to trust
lonely.
strangers?
I learned to trust people and ask for help very quickly,
Yeah.
which is something I'm really not good at, and it ties into the mental health thing as well, that if you're stuck in a rut or you need help, you have to ask for it. And it really kind of put that into perspective being on this trip, because if I don't ask for help, I'm not going anywhere. Something I had to adapt to quickly, but I wasn't lonely at all with WhatsApp and stuff. You still,
You
and
had loads of
social
people
media.
joining you along the way. didn't you?
Yeah, 70% of the time I've stayed with people from Instagram.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time I'm meeting new people, but I'm with other people, and you get stopped at petrol stations in all countries and people want to chat.
It's
and
biker culture, isn't it?
yeah, or
You're-
just even some white dude in the middle of nowhere on a big old bike, covered in, looking like this. People want to know what the fuck you're doing. So I never felt lonely. And personal-wise, it was just dealing with the frustration of being stuck and that being out of your control that was really difficult. And the ride in between and in the countries is fine, but border crossings, but particularly shipping the bike was a big nightmare, because on the time scale that I'm on, things needed to happen. I didn't have the luxury of, oh yeah, you can keep the bike and send it out whenever's good for you. It was like a bit more complex than that.
checkpoints.
Yeah, and then going to Chile was really difficult from Australia. I went from a country that's beautiful, great people, hanging out with awesome people and just having a really good time. First time I kind of relaxed since I left. And then I flew out to Chile, couldn't speak Spanish, couldn't speak to anyone, was in a hostel that had no windows. It was like being in prison. couldn't really get any good food and was just a bit shit. Took a week to get my bike out of customs, and that was, once I got back on the road I was fine, but that week was the first time I'd thought, do I really want to be doing this?
Did you have a lot of times when that crossed your mind?
That was pretty much the only time.
Just once.
Yeah.
That's cool. Next question. A lot of people are sort of wondering this and things. This is from Tom Henfrey. How did you go about getting sponsorship and funding your epic journey? You mentioned that it was self-funded, but was there any help along the way?
Apart from Mark Hauer, big up Mark Hauer, I'd never met Mark before, never spoken to him before, and kind of got introduced through a couple of people. I've been chatting to him on Facebook Messenger for literally 2 days.
For those who don't know, Mark Hauer, the founder of the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride.
Yeah. Been chatting on Messenger for literally 2 days, and he's like, how are you funding your trip? What are the sponsors giving you? And I was like, well, the sponsors have just given me a bike for the trip, or gear for the trip, bags for the trip.
Loaned you a bike for the trip?
Yeah. And he was like, well, that's not on. Spoken to him for like 2 days, never met him before. He was like, send me your bank details, I'm going to wire you $5,000.
Oosh.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And that's the only financial investment I've had in a whole trip's come from Mark.
A little bit of cash injection to help you do this.
I fucking needed it
for the greater thing and raising all the awareness.
Yeah, he was like, I think what you're doing is great and someone should be supporting you. Other than that, it's all come out of my pocket.
So the thing as well is this wasn't just a jolly and a personal accomplishment. This was all for raising awareness for mental health, mental health and suicide prevention.
Suicide prevention, men's mental health, all for Movember. So obviously
basically everything that Movember stands for. You've got a website, 35000miles.com. We'll get onto that in a bit because it's a bit of an inaccurate URL. But there's links there to donate if you want to help Henry reach his goals and all of that. We'll put a little link underneath. And so, what was the total cost of the trip?
It's about 20 grand for a year. But that's not including stuff that I don't pay for. So I don't pay for tyres. Haven't really paid for servicing.
So Ducati have supported you along their dealerships and sort of got
It's been like a regional thing. So if the region wanted to help out, then I'd gladly accept some free servicing or like a few free parts and stuff. And normally I just do a bit of press for them in return, and everyone's kind of happy. I didn't pay for any of my gear, which saves a lot of money. But like food, if I need a place to stay and I have to pay for it, petrol, all my vaccines, all my visas, all of that sort of stuff.
You're pretty much on budget because you said 20 grand when we sat through there.
Yeah, well, I didn't have any more, so.
You make it work. Okay, so people always ask you what were the best parts of this trip and they're amazed about all that stuff. But this is from Michelle88. What were the things you didn't like about your trip around the world? What were the drawbacks? What were the things that were a pain in the arse? Border crossings.
I mean, border crossings weren't so bad. It was just, it's a bit of a hassle, and one of the things when I spoke to Charlie Borman and did that interview with him originally, he was like, commit the whole day to a border crossing and you won't be frustrated. And that was actually the best advice I got, because if you're crossing a border and you're like, well, I've only got an hour and a half to cross this border, that's the one that's going to take you all day. So as long as you allow a day, then it doesn't matter if it takes 6 hours. And some of them do, and some of them are real quick. So it's a balance. The things I didn't like, police. Coming from a country we're so lucky that the corruption's at a higher level, so we don't actually have to deal with it firsthand. And the first time you have to pay a bribe is fucking surreal.
Does that happen a lot?
Mainly at border crossings, so that they'd let you in.
Or just not give you grief?
Some like Nicaragua, they were like, you can pay us $20 and go straight through, or you can not pay us and it's going to take you 8 hours to get through this border.
That's not
because we'll search every bag and it's like 20. Don't give a shit.
Did you try bribe Mexico?
No, it was very official in Mexico, which I was surprised about. But they just weren't having any of it. It was weird. But someone feeling entitled enough to stop you when you're not doing anything and ask for money.
Yeah.
Or in Kazakhstan, this police officer stopped me because he wanted to rev the bike. In the middle of nowhere, just pulled me over so that he can rev the bike. And
abuse of power.
yeah, and I had no petrol left, so I'm watching the exhaust like spitting fuel out, and I got to the petrol station with a quarter of a litre left. Yeah, but there's not been much I didn't like. It's all kind of part of the experience. But then again, I'm looking back at it with rose-tinted goggles, glasses, whatever.
As you do. So you kind of touched on it earlier, but ADD 1981 Lamb, did you always have somewhere to stay, or did you have to wing it sometimes and wild camp?
Yeah, every bit of camping that I did was wild camping.
Yeah.
To break it down, about 70% of it I stayed with people from Instagram, Facebook, do catty owners clubs or friends of friends and stuff like that. 15% hotels, hostels, motels, 15% camping. So that's pretty much the breakdown.
Interesting. At Daniel.hone, do you know this guy?
Maybe.
Seems a bit confident in asking you how much bum cream did you get through?
Your bum stops complaining after like the second month.
Have you got
it just dies.
arse calluses?
No, but it used to be a peach and now it's a pancake.
Frankie Triple asks, if you had to pick one, which country would you recommend traveling through and why? Or in your case, which country out of all of them would you go back to?
All of them. I'd go back to all of them. And it depends on how much time and what kind of thing you want to see.
Yeah.
If I could only ever do one motorbike trip again, it would be to ride through the Himalayas. I'd do that one again.
So which country opened your eyes and inspired you the most?
Himalayas was just amazing in terms of scenery and it was incredible. I'd never been in a desert before, so that was a really great experience. And they're so varied, which is something I didn't really expect. But if I had to pick a country, it would definitely be Australia, I think.
Yeah.
It's just so varied, so big. And America is great, but there's fences around everything. So you're like, oh, that's cool, can't go there, it's private land. Even like riding Big Sur and someone owns the peninsula and they've built a massive fucking house on it. It's really weird. Whereas in Australia, there's so much space. You'd be on the highway and be like, oh, I want to ride off-road for a bit. So you just like 10 meters to the left and you can ride off-road all you like.
Okay, next one. At choke.cc, what was the toughest town or city you passed through?
So
I think you might be seeing if it's any hostility, anything a bit dodgy, or
Medellin was probably the dodgiest.
it has a track record of that.
Yeah, it was like I hung out with some really great people there and had some really cool days. I booked a hotel on booking.com. It was super cheap. It was like cheaper than all of the hostels for a private room. So I was like, yeah, having it. Turned out it was in the worst area of Medellin, which I didn't realize. It just said Central District. Yeah. Central District, you don't want to stay in the Central District.
Note that down.
And I rocked up and the hotel was a brothel. And I didn't realize, so...
Did you have to share a room?
I got a nice private room. But right, so I rock up, I'm looking around the street and there's like drug addicts fucking everywhere. And I'm like, I'm parking my bike here. Go in, they have like underground parking, there's someone watching over the bike or whatever. I walked up the stairs and it was probably about 6 o'clock. I didn't have any cash, so I was like, can I pay on card? No, we don't take card. I was like, okay, that's weird. Can I pay you tomorrow? I'm staying for 2 nights. Can I just pay you in the morning? No, you have to pay us with cash now. So I was like, okay, where's the nearest ATM? It's like a 1.5 mile walk away. So it's got dark by this point and I'm walking through the center of the sketchiest part of Medellin. It's literally like a zombie apocalypse. Get to the bank, which is all nicely lit up so everyone can see I'm getting cash out. Come out, walk back, no troubles. Went up to the reception again, and as I'm paying, I put the money out on the counter, and it's a glass counter, and I look down, it's like condoms, sexy nurse outfit, lube. I'm like, that's a bit weird for like a normal hotel. I'm like, yeah, that is a sexy nurse outfit. I was like, okay.
Imagine you in this
whatever.
situation.
Yeah, I was just like a bit weirded out, but it's fine. Paid, went into the room, there's no sheets on the bed, the mirror's at waist height, and I'm like, this is a
plastic
fucking
everywhere.
brothel. Yeah, and the whole time that I've been going there, they're like, you're staying for 2 nights, and you're on your own. And then everything just dropped, and I was like, oh shit, this is a brothel. And I came back the next evening after going out to dinner with the guys. There was like a line of prostitutes in the hall, and they're all like trying to get your business. Yeah, fucking
Oh,
weird.
Henry, it's something I'd do.
Yeah. Thanks Booking.com for that one.
Booking.com, yeah, I forgot
Yeah.
about that. Shit, their standards are lower. So people might have noticed you've sported a moustache across this whole trip.
Yeah.
Like we said, for
November.
and all the stuff that does. Mr. Nipshire,
Yeah.
Mr. Revit man.
Mr. Derek himself. Congratulations on your baby.
He says, does a bigger moustache cancel? Hang on a sec. Does a bigger moustache cancel much of the wind noise in your helmet?
I wish. I wish it did. I ride with earplugs. I need the lamb chops. That would stop the updraft.
They need to change their logo then. Yeah. D83, what was the most useful and useless bit of kit you took with you?
Most useful bits is earplugs and visor cleaning kit. I don't know about the most useless. I had a lot of tie-down straps that I didn't use that much, but when I did use them, I needed them.
Yeah.
Needed to have them.
Those things.
It's a difficult balance. I mean, if you're doing a smaller trip, not traveling through so many seasons, you can cut back on so much stuff. I did find that I doubled up on things that I didn't need to double up on.
Yeah.
I was way more paranoid about charging than I should have been.
Yeah.
So I had like 2 battery packs.
And they weigh a bit.
Yeah, so I cut down to 1.
And you had the bike to charge as well?
Yeah, so
And how many hours were you, sorry, just an off topic one, how many miles did you averagely cover per day?
I worked it out the other day. It was about 211 kilometers a day.
A day.
So it's
how
like
many hours in the
100.
saddle?
That varied between average 6 to 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
Minimum 4, maximum 16.
Yeah. So maximum was 16 hours.
16 hours to do 130 miles. Yeah.
To do 130.
It was just the most
that a
strenuous
rough road or
day.
just shit roads?
Yeah, it was. All of the roads had been demolished, so
Yeah.
they were replacing them, but they, instead of like building the new one and then destroying the old one, they just destroyed the old one, and then were like, we'll build a new one at some point. It was like really deep mud, and it was mountain roads, really deep mud, no road. It was just very sketchy.
The rugged chef, what was the most rewarding part of the journey? It's a generic one, but arriving back, setting off. The first
Doing the highest roads in the world in the Himalayas.
You keep coming back to the Himalayas. I need to put this on a list.
Yeah, it was just great, and there's a lot of people there doing riding bikes, so there's like a really good vibe going, and you kind of feel, I don't know, you feel like you're accomplishing something, whereas the rest of the trip's on such a big scale that day to day you don't really feel that you're accomplishing that much. Getting through a few countries felt like an accomplishment and was rewarding, but the most rewarding part is meeting all of the people along the way, hanging out with people, talking about bikes, talking about mental health, just living their life for a little bit. And yeah, definitely the most rewarding part of the whole trip.
Sounds wicked. At Sally_9317, would you do it again?
Yeah, if I did it again, I'd do it in smaller chunks. I'd love to be able to ride forever.
So go somewhere, stop a bit.
Yeah, 3-4 months, come home.
That would take time a bit.
Yeah, it's just, it's very intense, very full on, lots of new things every day.
Yeah.
You just become a bit numb to it if you don't stop and reality check yourself a little bit.
Did you feel like you were rushing because of the world record attempt?
I didn't feel like I was rushing. It was more just a sensory overload. It was more just a sensory overload than anything else. You get to a point where you can't can't see anymore for a little bit. And I think coming home and being able to decompress and just process all of that would be worthwhile.
Okay, that's pretty much it. I'm just glad to have you back and hear all these stories. I've been living vicariously through you.
Yeah,
you know,
it's weird. Like all these people that I've met or that I now know, but having never met before.
Yeah.
I mean, we only hung out once or twice before, but we've been talking for a year now, or more.
Most of that me just saying I miss you.
Yeah, sending me nudes and stuff. It's a bit awkward.
Well, wicked. Yeah, we're proper proud of you.
Thanks,
really
man.
glad to have you back in one piece. We touched on it earlier about why Henry's been doing this, but I'm going to hand him over, let him tell you a bit more about why and where and how you can support the whole thing.
So yeah, I've been raising money for Movember on a trip and talking about men's mental health. If you want to support me by donating to Movember, you can head to my website, which is 35000miles.com. That's 35000miles.com. There's a big old button in the middle that says donate. You click on that, take you through to Movember, and you can transfer your pension or your life savings. And if you also want some merch, I have t-shirts for sale, and that all also goes to Movember, so you can hit the store button in my website and
we'll link all of that below in the description. You can read all of the stuff that you've been doing,
some blog
see all
stuff
the
and
pictures
photos and all sorts. Yeah,
it's all cool. So that'll be linked below. So if you've enjoyed hearing about Henry's tales and want to meet the guy and hear a bit more stories and have a look at the bike will be on the Ducati stand at the Bike Shed show at the end of May, 24th, 25th, 26th. That's down at Tobacco Dock. There's a link for tickets in the description. Henry will be there one or two of the days possibly, so keep an eye on his Instagram feed. He'll let you know as and when on his stories or whatever for that.
Yeah, buy your tickets now. Going like hotcakes, I hear.
Yeah.
So I hope you liked the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on alerts so that you're notified when the next video comes out.